On the one side, there's the economic challenges with the market shifting, prices, and just market trends. And then there's also city policies that are really impacting how you can rent out your property, what you can do with it. And it seems unfair, but there's only so much you have in your control, so you have to really do your due diligence on these things. What's going on, everyone? So I thought it would be a good idea to touch on some strategies that are really picking up right now due to the decline in the market. So with the high interest rates currently in the Hamilton, Ontario market, a lot of people are shifting towards strategies like short-term rentals, flips, or even student rentals, just because it allows them to have more control over the property. And also they tend to have more cash flow opportunities. And with the rates being high, cash flow is really tight, so it's really important to have those two options where you can kind of maximize your profitability and then also have some more control and kind of not deal with the LTV. I just wanted to cover these things because right now there's a lot of people shifting towards these, but these strategies are also facing a lot of challenges. On the one side, there's the economic challenges with the market shifting, prices, and just market trends. And then there's also city policies that are really impacting how you can rent out your property, what you can do with it. And it seems unfair, but there's only so much you have in your control, so you have to really do your due diligence on these things. So number one, I would say short-term rentals. We have a lot of people that are shifting to the short-term rental strategy, whether it's their existing properties or they're buying new properties and converting them. And obviously there's some upfront costs associated with that, and it takes a little bit more work. So if you're getting into that, you have to be really careful, because right now the city is going to start regulating short-term rentals. So they already have a draft. They have a bylaw kind of that they drafted up and different regulations, but they haven't really rolled it out yet. So they will start enforcing this in December 2023, according to the news that they put out. So basically what they want you to do is get licensing by having the city come through, do yearly inspections, just make sure you're compliant, your property's up to code, and they want you to have a fire escape plan. And obviously there's fees associated with all this stuff too. So there's a licensing fee, there's an annual fee. I believe just to start off the first year, it's like $1,000, and then every year there's a lower price for the renewals. But they're kind of following the same path as a lot of other major cities like Toronto, Mississauga, etc. And it's been long overdue, so we kind of expected this. But the most important part of the bylaw is they're only going to let you rent out one unit regardless of how many properties you have. So even if you have 5 properties, you can only rent out one unit, and it has to be within your primary residence. So if you own a duplex, even if you live in there, you can only rent out the basement. Or if you own a triplex, same thing. So if you're doing arbitrage, or you have a strategy where you want to pick up multiple properties, then you got to be really careful, because they will come for you. And I know people in other cities have been getting fines, so it's not like something you can take lightly. You're probably going to have to deal with a lot of issues if you're getting into this. Now, the second thing that the city's also targeting is student rentals. So they started a pilot program for rental licensing. It's already been started around the McMaster area, so like Westhill, Ainslie Wood, Kirkendall. And they're targeting those areas because they're right by McMaster. So very similar to short-term rentals, they want you to do yearly inspections, etc. It doesn't have anything to do with like owning a primary residence and living in a unit, but it's just any units that are being rented out in those areas, they want you to get licensed. And same thing, they're going to want yearly inspections. I believe there's some fees attached with that as well. They're going to want a zoning verification, and more importantly, they're focusing on that area for now, but they're also going to start doing enforcement around Mohawk College. So everything west of Upper James on the Hamilton Mountain, the West Mountain basically, they're going to be doing enforcement for rental licensing there as well. So if you have any property, any rental units, it doesn't matter if it's a student rental or not, they're just targeting those areas, but it applies to all rental properties. So if you have a property in any of these areas, you need to be careful because it's a matter of time before they're going to reach out to you. And don't think that they won't find out, because it just takes one person. It could be a neighbor, colleague, whatever it is, and next thing you know, they'll leave a notice on your door. And the important thing to remember with a lot of this stuff is you might think you can get away with some of this stuff, but the issue is like, let's say if they decide to fine you, they don't just send you a fine and wait for you to pay for it and it's something you can drag along. They'll put it on your property tax bill. So however you pay your property taxes, it'll go on there, and then it'll start accumulating interest if you don't pay it. So that's how they get you. Now, the third thing, which it doesn't really have to do with the city as much, it's more so just the economy. It's also an active strategy that people are doing, which is flipping. So flipping is obviously very profitable. It's always been high risk, but right now it's something people are shifting more towards because they don't really want to deal with tenants, or there's not a lot of cash flow. Now, the issue with flipping right now is the market keeps changing every 3 months. So you really got to fine tune your numbers, know exactly what the numbers are on your buy and on the sale. Obviously, you really got to buy under market value. So you need to make sure you're getting a deal, and you need to understand the market trends in your area, because if you're buying and trying to flip a property that will take a long time to sell, there's very limited buyer pools for, you're getting yourself into trouble. And then that ties in with seasonality, because if you're doing this at a season when things slow down, so right now with the market being where it is, just like last year, we're going to see a slowdown in the winter. So right now we're just at the end of summer. So if you pick up a flip now, and let's say your flip is ready by like December, that's probably going to be like the slowest month. So if you're going to be listing the property, there's a possibility you can take a slight loss on the sale price. So just make sure you're buying really profitable properties, or properties that have a lot of margins, because there's really like no clear idea of what's going to happen with the market, but we just know it's either going to be flat for the next little while, or there's a possibility there's going to be a slight downturn, especially in the coming winter. So you got to make sure you're either very quickly in and out of projects, or you're buying a very profitable property. And another thing that I would say you can do, like just a tip, is focus on like entry-level properties, because there's always buyers for those, and there's always people looking for affordable properties. And essentially your client, if you're a flipper, is the end buyer, the person who's going to buy it and move into it. So if you can provide something really valuable for the same price as someone else, but yours is a really well done, newly renovated property, it's going to get sold for sure, right? That's just how the market works. So that's something you can kind of do to counter that. But overall, I would say, like, if you're in any of these strategies, they're rewarding, they're more active, but there's high risks associated with this stuff. And anything that's profitable, it usually ends up getting regulated from what I've seen. So you got to just be really careful. There's obviously like workarounds and stuff, but if you're getting into this stuff, just make sure you're aware of this stuff and you don't get yourself into a situation, especially in this market, that you can't get out of. So if you're focused on a specific market, just make sure you connect with a local expert. You're gonna want to be connected with someone who has a very good understanding of the numbers and the trends and the bylaws, like all the stuff I just talked about. So whatever city you're in, if you're not in Hamilton, just connect with someone who understands this stuff, whether it's a real estate agent, investor, or whoever it is. Because having someone like that, it'll really give you an edge, and just make sure you're not making those mistakes. And obviously, if you're looking in the Hamilton area, just reach out to me. I'll leave my contact info below, and I also attached the Hamilton Investment Guide, so you can just download that. It's free.